It was a typical night shift at St. Joseph's Hospital, with quiet corridors and the soft hum of fluorescent lights. Nurse Helen diligently made her rounds, checking on the patients in the ICU. Although feeling a bit fatigued, she found solace in knowing that her shift would soon come to an end. Having worked tirelessly for 12 hours straight, she eagerly anticipated going home. While strolling down the hallway, she suddenly caught an unusual sound emanating from one of the rooms, a moan of pain. Reacting swiftly, Helen hastened towards the room and noticed that the door was slightly ajar. She gently pushed it open and entered. What she witnessed sent a chill down her spine. Mr. Smith, the patient, lay in the bed, wide-eyed with terror, his body drenched in perspiration, and his breaths were shallow. Acting promptly, Helen rushed to his bedside, assessing his vital signs. His pulse was feeble, and his blood pressure rapidly dropping. Immediately, she reached out for the on-duty doctor, but to her dismay, there was no response. Attempting a second call, she met with the same silence. Panic started to set in. What if the doctor was absent or resting? What course of action could she take? Helen knew that time was of the essence to save Mr. Smith's life. Assessing the situation swiftly, she realized that Mr. Smith was experiencing severe allergic reaction to the medication he had received. Grasping an emergency kit, she initiated the necessary treatment. Epinephrine had to be administered, followed by vigilant monitoring of his condition. As she worked diligently, an unsettling feeling crept over Helen. Something peculiar was transpiring within the hospital. The silence was too profound. Usually, the corridors bustled with the presence of other nurses and doctors, but tonight it resembled a desolate ghost town. A shiver ran down her spine. What could be happening? Suddenly, a sound reverberated from the hallway. Helen swiftly turned around, attempting to catch sight of the source, but found nothing. Dismissing it momentarily, she resumed her duties. Yet, just as she was about to conclude the treatment, the sound echoed once again. This time, it was closer. She pivoted her gaze, and there in the doorway stood a figure obscured by a white lab coat, concealing his face from view. Motionless, he simply observed her. Helen found herself frozen in place. Who was this person, and why were they standing there? She attempted to speak, but her words refused to emerge. The man slowly advanced into the room, and as he did, the lights flickered, plunging the room into darkness. Helen's heart raced within her chest. Her trembling hands reached for the light switch, but her trembling impeded her efforts. The man's footsteps drew nearer, and she could feel his breath upon her neck. In a desperate attempt to make sense of it all, she shut her eyes tightly, praying for it to be a dreadful illusion. Yet, when she cautiously opened her eyes once more, the mysterious man had vanished, and the lights hummed brightly. Scanning the surroundings, she found no trace of anyone's presence. Relief washed over her, mingled with an unsettling dread. What was occurring? Was her sanity slipping away? She diligently rechecked Mr. Smith's condition, discovering that his vital signs had stabilized. A sigh of relief escaped her lips as she sank into the chair beside his bed. Needing a moment to collect herself and steady her frayed nerves, she shifted her gaze to the lovely bouquet of blue irises adorning the bedside table. It provided a small distraction and uplifted her spirits. While seated there, the distant sound of footsteps reverberated down the hallway. Her attention drawn, she emerged from the room, witnessing a group of individuals approaching her. Clad in white lab coats with medical masks concealing their faces, they resembled doctors. Yet something felt amiss. Their eerie silence and indistinguishable appearance sent an unsettling shiver down her spine. Helen greeted the group, though curiosity piqued as to their identity and purpose. However, her salutation received no response. Instead, they strode past her, proceeding directly into Mr. Smith's room. Feeling a growing unease and concern for her patient's well-being, she followed suit. Upon entering the room, she beheld the group encircling Mr. Smith's bed, each member meticulously attending to their assigned tasks. Yet, an uncanny peculiarity emanated from the group. Their movements were mechanical, flawlessly synchronized, as if driven by a programmed script. Attempting to engage with them, Helen found herself ignored, as though rendered invisible. Suddenly, one of the group's members turned towards her, revealing Dr. Johnson, the hospital's head physician. Relief washed over her at the sight of a familiar face, though perplexity clouded her mind as to his involvement with the enigmatic collective. Dr. Johnson, can you please explain what is transpiring? Who are these individuals, and what is their purpose? Helen inquired, her voice tinged with confusion. Yet, Dr. Johnson remained unresponsive, his gaze vacant. A shiver coursed through her, leaving her apprehensive about the nature of the procedures being performed on Mr. Smith. Desperate for answers, she attempted to pose the question once more, only for Dr. Johnson to suddenly lunge towards her. Swiftly evading his grasp, she fought against his powerful grip, struggling to break free. Recognizing the urgency to escape the room and alert others, Helen managed to break loose from Dr. Johnson's clutches. She raced towards the door, reaching out for the handle, but a searing pain erupted in her neck, engulfing her in darkness. Upon awakening, Helen found herself confined within a cramped room, its metallic door enclosing her. Her head throbbed with pain, and her feeble body refused to support her. Struggling to rise, her legs gave way, causing her to slump onto the frigid floor. As she lay there, she strained to recollect the events that led her to this place. The group of individuals in white lab coats, Dr. Johnson's aggression, and the sharp agony piercing her neck flickered in her memory. She pondered the passage of time and her mysterious location. Suddenly, footsteps echoed beyond the door. Helen endeavored to call out, but her voice emerged raspy and feeble. The footsteps halted, followed by the distinct click of a key turning in the lock. The door swung open, revealing a man donning a black suit. "Who are you, and why am I here?" Helen inquired, her voice laced with bewilderment. The man in the black suit remained silent, instead approaching her and administering a sedative via injection. As the drug coursed through her veins, her body succumbed to its effects, plunging her into darkness once more. When consciousness returned, Helen found herself confined within a dimly illuminated room, its sole centerpiece a solitary chair. Her weakened state prevented her from standing, while her gaze surveyed the surroundings, seeking an escape route. The walls, constructed of solid concrete, offered no solace, and the absence of windows heightened her sense of entrapment. The door swung open abruptly, and the man in the black suit entered the room. Approaching her, he positioned himself before her, his face veiled in shadows. "Who are you, and what do you seek from me?" Helen queried. The man in the black suit maintained his silence, instead presenting her with a file. Hindered by her lingering weakness, Helen struggled to open it, revealing a compilation of names and medical records. As she perused its contents, a realization dawned upon her. Every listed patient had endured severe allergic reactions to the administered medication. "What is the meaning of this?" Helen voiced her confusion. Finally breaking his silence, the man in the black suit spoke. "We are conducting an experiment. A new medication has been developed, and we must evaluate its impact on humans. Regrettably, some patients have suffered adverse reactions, and we seek to discern the cause." A surge of apprehension coursed through Helen as she comprehended the gravity of the situation. You cannot subject human beings to such experimentation. It is both unethical and unlawful, she vehemently protested. The man in the black suit displayed a callous indifference. "We possess the means to conceal it all and the authority to make it vanish. You can either join us and assist, or you will be silenced." Chilling realization enveloped Helen as she grasped the peril she faced. She understood the urgent need to escape and expose the truth, but she was uncertain how to proceed. As the man in the black suit exited the room, Helen's mind raced, desperately seeking any clues that could aid her escape. Her eyes caught sight of a small window near the ceiling, yet her weakened state prevented her from reaching it. She attempted to rise once more, only to realize her lack of strength. Hours drifted by, leaving Helen in a state of hopelessness. She wondered if anyone was searching for her, or if she would ever be reunited with her loved ones. Hoping it was all a dreadful nightmare, she yearned for it to swiftly conclude. Deep down, however, she knew it was far from over. Eventually, the door swung open once again, revealing the man in the black suit who carried a folder. Silently, he opened it and displayed its contents to Helen, her entire life encapsulated within its pages. Details of her friends, family, their occupations, residences, and even personal records, such as bank statements and medical histories. "You see, Helen, we possess comprehensive knowledge about you, your loved ones, and their lives. It is in your best interest to cooperate. Otherwise, those you care about will suffer," the man declared, instilling fear in Helen's heart. She vehemently refused to comply, realizing the grave consequences of their actions. "I will never cooperate with you. You are taking lives. I will expose everything to the authorities, and you will all face the consequences," Helen exclaimed, consumed by fear and disbelief at the unfolding events. "Consider the bright side," the man in the black suit continued. "Due to excessively stringent regulations, innovative treatments cannot be explored openly. However, they are benefiting certain individuals who are experiencing improvements. So, not only do we refrain from ending lives, but we also aid them. Moreover, your contribution to assisting our patients will be handsomely rewarded. You have 1 hour to decide whether you are with us or against us." "What happens if I refuse?" Helen inquired, though she already knew the answer, unable to suppress her curiosity. "Then there is no future for you. I will return in an hour," the man stated before leaving the room, the door slamming shut. Overwhelmed with indecision, Helen sat there, tears streaming down her face, grappling with the weight of her choice. A few days later, Helen embarked on her regular shift at the bustling hospital, where work and people intertwined as usual. She diligently carried out her routine tasks, and time passed swiftly. Sporting a smile, she visited another patient, exuding warmth and cheerfulness. After all, the patient had been gifted an extravagant bouquet of exquisite blue irises.